My name is Doctora Diana Álvarez. I am a multidisciplinary artist. I create in multiple forms, primarily as a songwriter, a singer-songwriter, and I create multidisciplinary performances. So the reason that I'm here at CitySpace in Old Town Hall is that I'm creating a piece. I'm actually going to be sharing a piece I've been working on for 8 years called Quiero Volver, a Xingonx Ritual Opera. And it's a multimedia performance that for me is very near and dear to my heart because I've been working on creating a piece that is about coalition building, specifically for queer, trans, gender expansive, Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, Latinx folks, so QTBIPOC artists. And so in this space, I plan to perform some music and have a performance installation of Quiero Volver. Over 8 years ago, I just know that I started by saying, gosh, someday I'd love to create a Mexican folk opera. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. I just meant I want to write songs and I want to create a performance and I want to sing. And I wasn't singing professionally at the time. And I had yet to even think of doing a PhD program. And then my whole life changed really when my grandfather died. His name was Charlie, and I have a song called Charlie in a Boat about him. He was an Indigenous and Irish sailor, and he raised me as his own. He was my step-grandfather, but he raised me as his own child. And I held him as he transitioned from this planet to wherever we go after. And that experience really transformed my life. And it was because of that that I decided that I needed to find a way to center artistic practice in my life. So then I went to look for graduate programs that were fully funded. And so I found the perfect place to explore my many different modes of creativity. I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and I started working on what it would look like to create that Mexican folk opera. And then it turned into, with my own study and my own practice, I said, well, this is my particular experience. It's not something I'm going to claim that would work for everyone. So I'm going to call it, I ended up calling it a Chicanx Ritual Opera because I am Chicana. I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas originally, and very much have learned about my identity by reading people like Gloria Anzaldúa and Cherie Moraga, and also people like Audre Lorde and June Jordan, people who really, for the first time in my education, I saw people who, through my own self-study, that were doing work of coalition building. So it started with me just wanting to write songs and wanting to create some kind of piece, and then my own experience through higher education, my own experience in life, and coming from a working class and low income family, and one that I think has struggled with all the aspects of oppression and colonization, either through abuse or addiction and all the things you can think about of being exploited. I have always turned to the work of radical artists, and I found in my studies in higher education this dissonance of those things were not the mainstream things that were being studied, so I always had to find them. And it was through that practice. It's like these texts, that's why I've put them here, because they were my first resources as an artist. And And they're the first resources for a lot of people who are navigating higher education. So eventually, over time, it turned into Xingonx because I just realized I want it to be for anyone who considers themselves a badass, for people who are queer, trans, BIPOC artists. I want us to find ways to build community, to build family together, to build coalition with one another, because I think that's an area that needs attention. And that's why I build an altar for that, because I think we need the attention to our coalitional healing. I think everyone will come to this with different, where they are situated in the world and their experiences. They're going to come here and experience different things. But ultimately, my goal is to create a place that feels warm and inviting and soulful, and like we can exist in a place where we're building empathy and community, and there's a kind of beginning of understanding, this is how we create chosen family. The question behind this piece is really to where do we turn when our lineage lines are broken? I'm a person who has been motherless since the age of 7, and then I've subsequently lost the mother figures in my life who sheltered me after that loss of my biological mother, Irene. So in that process, a lot of the unpacking I've done is, how do I connect with my lineage when that core family member is gone? And the fact is that for queer, trans, BIPOC artists, we are more likely to experience loss of family by virtue of the identities that we hold, by virtue of the way that society treats us. And so it's not anything new for me to say, we have chosen family. I think what I'm just doing here is trying to create a space for us to figure out what is the actual work of building chosen family. How do we build empathy with one another? And I think we do that through music and performance. And I have the rituals that I have here are really my own kind of queer rituals of listening, of sharing, of opening up the space for creativity so that anybody can create. It's not just something that we gatekeep and we only say only specific artists can create. And, sharing things like back there, I'm going to move this couch back there. There's going to be a tea station, a water station. And one of the reason that came about is that I have these family herbal remedies that my abuela was like, whenever you have a congestion, she would make a tea with anise and cinnamon, and she would put raisins in it. I don't put raisins in it. But she, these family remedies, and there's so much packed into just this gesture of someone offering a story about a healing remedy like that. So I want people to have the space to have those conversations, which once you start talking about tea, once you start talking about infusions of herbs, you're going to naturally start talking about where you come from and your history and colonization and how our histories are interlinked. So I want those conversations, I want that creativity, that joy to be held in the space. So that's, I think, what people will leave with. That's in the best possible scenario what people will leave with. And I think at the baseline, they'll come and experience art. They'll hear my music. They'll see queer, trans, gender expansive, BIPOC artists in action and holding space for one another, and hopefully learn a little bit about how to create that space in their own way, or if anything, I just hope people leave wanting to create their own things. So the way it will be is May 13th, we'll be here at CitySpace, the Blue Room in Old Town Hall in Easthampton. The public opening is at 5:30. So 5:37, it's open to all, and it's just really, it will start with some interaction, kind of self-guided interaction with the space. And then I will have some performances at that time as well. And then from 7 to 9, I have a QTBIPOC affinity space for queer, trans, gender expansive BIPOC artists to come and be in community together. And so the place, the performance at CitySpace, I mean, this venue is so well equipped with everything, and it's a little bit larger. So we'll have space to social distance and interact with things. When it comes to the place, to Creative Resilience Lab, it's going to be a smaller location, cozier, but we'll do the same performance. And the thing that Quiero Volver is designed to transform with whoever interacts with it. So the stories are going to change based on who's here. You know, the tea that you make is going to be different each time. I have a repertoire of songs that I make as offerings to the performance and that I structure everything around. But sometimes I might change that. There may be some that are in this performance that are not in the next one. And I feel like I was talking to one of my core collaborators, Nicole M. Young Martin, yesterday, and she was saying, you know, the piece will change each time you do it. Like sometimes you're going to have these songs, sometimes you're going to have other songs, and that's okay. In fact, I'm trying to encourage for myself, as well as anyone who interacts with it, that art and creativity is about pleasure and connection, and it's not about perfection. It's not about having a set product that is always stagnant and the same. And I know that goes against a lot of things in our world, but I want to encourage art for creativity, for connection, for our pleasure, for our joy. So in that mode, I'm making this as an offering that will change. It will transform. And as an artist, that brings me a lot of joy to know that other people will be transforming my work. May 13th and May 27th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's open to all. And then 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. it's a QTBIPOC affinity space. And both the 5:30 to 7 and 7 to 9 will include some self-guided walkthroughs of the space, as well as some performances. And then it's important to note that for the QTBIPOC affinity space, there will also be a portion that's it's a mini open mic. We have our separate spaces often. We have spaces for our very specific identities, and I want that, and I love that. And I also, for QTBIPOC artists, I want us to have a space where we can come together, and we may have, we know we're going to have dissonance and difference as well, or lots of commonalities or things to explore. But I think one of the most powerful things we can do as a society is to build coalition, is to find the ways that, okay, we acknowledge that we have differences, we acknowledge that we have dissonance, and we will work through those things together, but we're gonna transform our society for good together. Because historically, if we look at the movements, the radical movements of our elders, it has been internal struggle that has weakened us. And I think that if we want to transform our planet, heal our planet, if we want to end the belief in this white supremacist capitalist way of being, then we have to work together. And this is a space for cultivating that coalition building. it's just one. I hope we have many kinds of spaces like that. But that's I think a big driving force behind it is that I just want there to be a way for us to begin that process together.